Hey guys, how are you? So this is our last week of our 2020 classes, and this time I went with a sort of a Star of Bethlehem type drawing for us to work on. You're gonna need your pencil, eraser. Let's see, I used all kinds of stuff in this one. Okay, pencil, eraser, white crayon, sharpie, watercolors, and if you have them, colored pencil. Okay, and if you don't have all of that, that's perfectly fine. Oh, and actually, if you have some blue painter's tape, get that out as well. If you don't, it's not a big deal, but if you have it, it would be helpful. Okay, so go get your supplies and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, so here is our drawing that we're going to be doing. So I'm just letting you have a quick look at that. We're going to go down to our paper and we're going to use our pencil just to draw a very rough ground line down here. Now, our little town of Bethlehem is going to be up here on a hill. So we want to have a little bit of a hill up here, and then the rest can just, whatever shape you want. I need a hill in the foreground, kind of like that. And maybe just one more little something over here. Okay, doesn't need to be exact at all. Okay, then the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna build a wall around our little city of Bethlehem. Okay, remember Bethlehem's up there on that hill. So we're just gonna go kind of like that. Back in that time, cities were guarded. They had big walls all the way around them. This was, roughly 2,000 years ago. And that's how the cities protected themselves. They would have a big defensive wall outside. So that's basically our wall. Now inside of here, we're just going to put a bunch of rectangles. You can do whatever size, however many you want. The highest point, though, I want to be this round top little point there. I believe that to be the temple. I'm not 100% positive about that, but I believe that that's supposed to be the temple. Either way, I want that to be your highest point. Okay. And now what we can do is I want your rooftops to basically follow the shape of that hill that we had for our city. I'm drawing this real lightly, just because I want it to give me an idea. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and erase this line right here. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to go in with just like rooftops. Okay. I really have no idea what this would have looked like at the time. I did do a Google search, which is something that you guys could do if you wanted to, if you wanted to get a better look at what Bethlehem might have looked like back at the time. It is basically just a collection of simple buildings, usually made of like stone or brick or whatever. And again, we are not trying to get an exact replica of the city either. So, put however many of these things you want. Maybe something like that, as long as you get the idea that it's a city. Something that I did, and I don't know if it makes sense to do it or not, but I put some windows in some of mine. I think that from an artistic standpoint, I think that it did help to have the windows, to have the light shining out of the windows. Realistically, actually, you know what? Realistically, probably none of this would have happened the way that we're drawing it. but that's okay. We're taking some artistic license here. So I'm gonna just put a couple windows in, okay? And there's my little city. That's my little city of Bethlehem. So I can erase this other guideline that I put back here. You know, just clean it up a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so now, let me show you this. We have our guy riding a camel. I was intimidated about teaching this to you guys because I can't be with you, and it's a little bit complex. But if we break it down into shapes, I don't think it's that bad. We're gonna break his body into an oval. Okay, then we just have a rounded neck, maybe another little oval face coming over here. Or actually, it's a little bit more of a triangle, kind of. His legs are basically straight, a little bit angled. He has little ovals or little bumps where his knees would be, here and here. And then we just got, I don't even know what, like packages or stuff over here, and a head and a hat, okay, and a tail. So let's do our best to do that here. And you know what? Whatever happens, happens. We do want his body to be up here, above the city, because they're kind of looking down. So I'm going to do just a rough oval to give me an idea of where his body is, okay? Now from there, I'm going to go up maybe about an inch, maybe a little bit more, but about an inch for the back of his neck. Then there's a little bump and another little bump. And this sort of, I don't know, whatever shape this is, his little snout. Okay. And then his neck's going to come back down, but it's going to go towards the base of his body right here. And now we're going to do his legs. Now, if it's too tricky for you, just do straight legs. You guys all know how to just do straight legs, okay? So you can totally do that. I'm going to try to make these look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to have a little bit of a curve there, a little bump for his knee, and come back out like that. Now the other side is going to curve. It's going to come in a little bit, come back out like that. This one here is going to curve in a little bit towards the other one. So we're going to come in like this. And then again, that little bump for his knee. And come back down like that. Have this come in, a bump for the knee. Go back out like that. I don't really know much about camels. I don't know how they stand in real life. But this is what we're going with for now. I just copied this from an image that I found online. Okay, he's going to have a little bit of a belly. And then his hind leg is going to come back kind of like this. And again, because this is a silhouette, which means, you know, the black, and you don't really see, it's just like the outline, and you don't really see the full image. You know, I don't really even need to know what all of this is, as long as it comes across as being a camel with a rider and some stuff on it. So this does the job. Diagonal, a little bit of a curve, maybe for a knee, and the rest of his leg. Now this leg just kind of comes up and stops about right there, okay? Then we come down like this for his other leg. And the other leg comes up, then about right here, it bulges out a little bit, kind of like that. And then we actually just kind of go straight up. I'm assuming that this is a combination of the two legs and maybe some kind of a saddle type thing or something that the guy's sitting on, or packages. But this back side is going to go up just about the same height as where this is, maybe a little bit higher. So about right there. Okay. We're going to draw a little tail back here behind him. Now from here, actually, you know what? Let me pause for a second. From here, the most important thing is the rider. The rider needs to be above his head. Actually, I might need to make his neck a little bit longer. We'll see. Let me finish, and then I'll decide if I think he needs to have a little bit of a longer neck. But our rider, we want to be in the center here. So here's the legs and the belly. We want to go straight up. Let's just make a dot, like about where his head is going to be. Okay. From there, we can make a little hat. His hat's kind of like a little half circle or curved line with a straight line. And then we can make a little head like that. Okay. Then we have a shoulder that just kind of rounds down like that. And over here, his shoulder kind of goes out, and then he goes straight down. Okay. Now, everything else is like what I was saying. It's a combination of, really the camel has a hump somewhere in here, and then there's other stuff around. So we are just going to put some shapes in. From here, I'm going to do a straight line that goes out like that, and a diagonal line, and another line that goes down like that, and another line that goes over here. Okay. From this side, I'm going to make a curved, kind of like a curved, almost like a, I don't know, like a 90-degree angle with a curve on it. And we're going to do, let's see, 1, 2, and maybe one more like that, just like a little curve that goes down to his neck. Okay, that's our basic shape. So I'm going to go in now and erase like this line and this line, basically all of these interior lines, and then get a good look at him and see if I think he's done. Okay guys, so that's my erased version. I did decide that I wanted his head to go up just a little bit higher. So I don't know if you can see, but right here is where his headline was. And I just moved it up a little tiny bit. This is the time to look at your image and assess it and see if it needs any changes. And, and I'm happy with that. So we're going to leave it like that. Now I do have these two little ropes here that we need to put in. Like that. Okay. And basically he's done. So now we're going to add a little tree back here. You know what? Because of where I placed my camel this time, I feel like I don't have enough room for a big tree. If you have a lot of room over here, you can go ahead and make your tree like I did on this one. Basically, I started out down here. I have a little bit of a rounded line here. And I curve up and I bend a little bit. And then on the other side, it starts out wide, but it gets thinner as it goes up. So that's what you can do. I'm not going to do the whole thing. What I'm going to do, and if your drawing looks more like mine does right now, I'm just going to have it coming out from the side over here. Okay. And then I'm going to get to my center. I have no idea what kind of palms they have there. I'm just going to put something in the center so that I have something to mark as a center point. And then I'm going to put some palm fronds out like that. Okay, just lines going out. And then I'm basically making V's. If you want to, you could just do that and make V's and then make them smaller towards the tip. When I do mine, I personally like to just do one side and then go back and do the other. Or I might even just scribble it in. I think for this, it looks better if we don't scribble. And we have the distinct fronds. But they're basically just V's pointing towards the tip at the end. And they get smaller as they go down. started to put some on my tree trunk, but that's okay. We'll pretend that that's only half of a palm branch showing from behind the tree trunk. Okay, so I'm just going to have a bit of a palm tree coming out, and that's fine. Okay, so for the star, we're going to real lightly draw a cross. Okay, I've got that. And I've got that. Now, there are lots of different ways that you can do this, and if you want to do yours another way, that's fine. On mine, again, very lightly, because I want to erase all of this, I just did curved lines like this, connecting those lines. So I kind of have like a diamond shape in the center. Okay. And I am going to erase all of this in time, and this will all be left white. So for right now, I'm going to just erase the center part, and we'll go back and erase those other lines later, okay? So that is our basic drawing. Okay guys, so two more things before we do our watercolor. One is that we're going to get our Sharpie or our micron pens, and we are going to just do the outline of our camel and our person up here, and also our tree. And that's mostly so that we don't lose them when we do our watercolor. Don't bother coloring them in yet, but just do the outline so that we don't lose them. And with your star, what I want you to do is, let me find my eraser. We are going to basically erase this. You're not going to be able to see, I can see my own work, but that's because it's very, very, very subtle. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it when I erase it or not. So what I want you to do is mostly erase it. But there should still be just a little bit of something left behind so that you can see the shape. Okay. And then with either, if you have a white colored pencil, I actually think that would work really well. But I'm going to go ahead and use a crayon, and you know what? I'm going to use the back end instead of this end, because as you can see, this is not very pointy, and this has a nice edge on it. It's not point, but it's a nice clean edge. So I'm going to use that edge and come straight down here. I'm going to make a nice straight line right there, and make a nice straight line right there, and likewise for my curves. Okay, and I know it's hard for you guys at home to see, but you can see what I'm doing, okay? And yours should turn out the same as mine. I just have it erased so that it probably is not picking up very well on the video. But just make sure that you have your straight line, and you can make it a little bit thicker if you want to. That's, you know, up to you. Basically a cross with some sort of something in the middle. I think you can see it a little bit at that angle. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go for a second. Sharpie or micron pen the outline of this and of this, and come right back, okay? Okay, so this is my image after I have Sharpied the outline and erased. I erased my pencil marks for both of those. You know, one more thing that I can do before I start with my watercolor is that I kind of want to have a glow over Bethlehem. So I can take my crayon and just go over like almost like a sun, like a half of a sun for my glow around Bethlehem. Or maybe you can go like around the buildings a little bit, just so that the watercolor doesn't soak in, or if it does soak in, it doesn't go in all the way into our drawing. Okay, I know it's hard for you to see what I'm doing, but that's basically like a half circle that I put over top of it, like a little dome. Okay, and now I'm going to start watercoloring. So I'm going to get, let me see, the cleanest wide brush. I'm using about a 1-inch wide brush. Okay. It's, I don't know, it's about a 1-inch wide, but it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't use one too skinny if you can help it. Okay, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take my lightest yellow. So I think that's this. And I know you guys have a different paint set than I do. Just, you know, your colors don't have to be the same as mine. But basically what I'm going to do for this whole thing is I'm going to go kind of in this swooping shape, kind of like, you know, these little, the curves that we drew. And I'm going to do that for all of these different colors. Actually, it just dawned on me that we should water our paper down first. Another thing, guys, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention this. If you have blue painter's tape, you can see that I've got some blue painter's tape on the edges of mine. If you have blue painter's tape, it's not a bad idea to go over, you know, the whole edge. I ran out of painter's tape, so I only did a little bit. But that helps when the paper buckles. It helps it to come back to its regular shape when you're done painting. And it just makes for a cleaner painting, I think. I know we've done lots of painting before, and I have never mentioned this. I don't always do it. I think maybe on this one, I just really wanted it to look extra special. So, so I did go ahead and do that this time. So if you have someone you want to, go for it. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm just wetting my paper right now so that my colors blend a little bit better. Okay, and it's very natural for it to curl up. That's what it does. So I'm going to go over this a little bit more. Basically, I want it to be as light as possible in the center and then go out to our blues. So I used yellow and then kind of a golden yellow, and an orange and purple and blue. And then when I finally got to my blue sky, I even put in little tiny bits of green and little bits of purple within the blue. So let me see. So that's my yellow. I have a kind of a golden color that I'm going to use next. Just a little bit of a stronger yellow. And now I have a line there. I can choose to leave that, or I can clean off my brush. And so I just cleaned off my brush, and it's just a little bit damp right now, or maybe I'll get a little bit more water on it. And I can just go over that line, and it will automatically just blend itself. Okay, now my next color that I want to use is an orange. I have a couple different oranges. I'm going to go with this more kind of darker orange, but whatever color you have is fine. I'm going to make sure I get the water in there, let it soak it up a little bit. Then I'm going to put that over here. And I'm going to overlap somewhat with the colors that I already did. It's also completely okay to go over top of our camel. That's sort of why we did the Sharpie, because I didn't want that to be in the way. I didn't want us to have to work around the camel. So it's perfectly okay to go right over top of him. Okay, my next color is going to be this purple here. See, with my watercolors, there's different types of watercolors. With this kind, I really need to use a good amount of water. If yours are softer, you might not need much water at all. The kind that I have, I need to work at it a little bit to get it to soak the water in. Okay, so there's that. I am here rinsing my brush off. I am going to go over these lines just a little bit. The yellow and the orange. And then also the purple and the orange. Just basically adding water to it to help it blend on its own. And then last but not least, I'm going to throw in some blue. Now I have a couple different shades of blue. It doesn't matter. I don't know what you guys have on your sets, but you know, play around. Maybe I'll use a little bit of all three of the shades. I'm not really sure. And that's going to go over here next to the purple. I'm trying not to get too much on the ground, but it's really not a crisis. It's really just more of personal preference. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to color this whole thing in over here. I'm going to rinse off my brush and soften those edges again. Okay, so that is the basis for our watercolor. Now, I personally, I'm going to come back in over here with my blues. This is a different shade of blue. It's a little bit darker. I want the edges to be kind of dark. That's just my personal preference. Because I really, you know what? The dark accentuates the light. In other words, light doesn't look as light if you don't have darks near it. So I really kind of want to make my edges of my image as dark as I can. I would rather not use black at the moment. I might go in later after this is all dried. I might go in with a little bit of colored pencil and darken it up a little bit. But right this second, I just want to sort of get as many layers of that blue in as I can. And like I said, so I'm a wannabe astronomer. I love astronomy, and I love looking up the stars and the images of different nebulas and whatnot. And I know you can't see any of that stuff with the naked eye from Earth where we are, but I like pretending that you can. So I like putting in just little bits of color. This is like you can't see it because of the glare. Anyway, I'm putting in just a little bit of green. I'm just kind of tapping it in. Just, you know, in some places. And I'm going to do the same thing actually with the purple. See, my purple is dry again already, and yours is probably still wet. But my watercolors really take a lot of water to get them going. So I'm going to take my purple, and same thing that I did with the other one. I'm just in a couple of different places, just going to tap it in. Like that. Okay, guys, so here is my image, and I just put a little bit of water on it just to blend the colors a little bit better. And I'm also, if you have them, I'm going to take some Epsom salts, and I'm going to sprinkle them around this blue section primarily. I might put a little bit on some of these other colors, but mostly on the blue and the purple. And I'm going to let that dry, and it's going to just give it an interesting effect and play with the colors a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put some of that on, and I'm just going to let it sit like that. I'm going to ignore the fact that there's salt on it. Okay. Okay, so I've got my salt on there. I am also going to splatter just a little bit of paint. Now, I might not be able to do this while I'm filming, but yeah, you can, you know, just kind of like flick some paint on like that. Maybe use some blue or some purple or some green and go over the areas that we just salted. I think it just adds a little bit of interest. Now, if you got spots in places that you don't want them, you can take a clean brush with a little bit of water and just go over them. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go in and do our foreground. We can still use that same brush, or you can use a smaller one if you want to. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put in some brown first, dark brown, and go along the edge. I brushed the salt out of the way. Any salt that was on this white part, I just brushed it out of the way. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to put in some green. I'm choosing a more blue-green type color, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to go over the line of my hills. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of drag the color around. I don't have to cover the whole thing. When I'm done with that, I'm going to go back in with maybe a different color, different shade of brown. And just sort of make some shadows, but I'll let it blend up into the green. Something like that. And now we are going to just let this sit for a little while and dry. When we're done letting it dry, we will Sharpie in the rest of our camel and our tree, and then color in Bethlehem with a colored pencil. Okay, but right now we're just going to let this sit for a little bit. Okay, guys, so now my my watercolor is dry, and I brushed off as much of the salt as I could. I put it in the trash can. And it just kind of gives it this kind of neat effect. So that's done. Now what I want to do is I want to do Bethlehem here. The first thing, now I'm using colored pencil. If you guys don't have colored pencil, use, I don't know, markers, or you could even use the watercolor if you wanted to. But I'm going to go in and color all of my windows first. They're either going to be yellow or orange, or maybe a combination of both, to just give a little bit of glow coming out of the city. I didn't draw one there, but I want one there. There. Okay. And then on our buildings, I don't know, on some of them, I put like little yellow lines, like for a roof line, like maybe the star is shining down on it. And then what I did was I took brown and I colored in the whole rest of this brown. So basically the whole city. I go around the windows first, and then I just go around like this and color the whole thing in. Okay, this is the sample. So if you actually want to pause it on here, you can pause it and color that in. And then I did the wall. I did a yellow line. This here is a yellow line at the top of the city wall. And then I colored it, the wall itself, in black with a little bit of brown over top of that yellow. Okay, so you can pause it here and color that in. Okay, guys, so I just colored in my Bethlehem. I got my windows. I colored this in mostly brown, but I did do some black shadows around it and with my wall here. So the very last thing that I need to do is my Sharpie with our camel and our tree. I did also, just so you know, I used a little bit of the black and the brown colored pencil just to kind of give a little bit more definition to the hills and the landscape, and also to our line right up here. I guess this is our horizon line. I didn't use a lot. I didn't use it really dark and heavy, but just a little bit. You don't even necessarily have to, but I just wanted to let you know that that is something you can do, and something that I had done. So I'm going to pause this now. You guys get out your Sharpies and fill in your picture. Remember, this is not filled in, this space right here, because that's two different straps hanging down. So don't fill in this shape here, but all of this and our tree. Okay. Okay, guys, so this is what it looks like after I've Sharpied everything in. And the very last thing that I personally am going to do is that I'm just going to pick out a couple spots to highlight with my colored pencil. Again, absolutely not necessary, but I just want to show you how I did my drawing, my original drawing. Just very lightly. You can use circular motions to blend in a little bit better. And I'm just kind of going very lightly, just in certain places to kind of highlight an area. Or maybe like my orange wasn't quite as bright as I wanted, so I went over with an orange pencil. You know, over in here, I might make certain sections stand out a little bit more. Maybe I will try to make the green stand out a little bit more. But other than that, this is it. Okay, guys, well, I hope that you had fun with this assignment. I think it looks really nice, and it's a nice way to end our year, especially with this year with, I don't know if you guys heard about the talk of Jupiter and Saturn aligning and that possibly being the Christmas star. I have no idea whether that was the Christmas star or not, but there's been a lot of hype about it, and I don't know, it sort of put me in the mood to do something along the lines of the star. So, and actually, being that this, you might not actually even get to this assignment until after Christmas, that kind of works as well, because truly, the whole Christmas star thing was during Epiphany, which was after Christmas, a year or two after Christmas, actually. So that kind of works out. But anyway, I hope that you had a good time on this assignment, and I hope you all have a good holiday season, good Christmas and New Year's, and hopefully I'll see you after the holidays. Okay, take care. Bye.